music.
Party's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
And diddly-dee, diddly-die, sure, isn't it not another episode of Bat Minute in our hiatus period? Oh, Jesus and Begorra, to be sure. It is it's me, Niall McGowan. I'm dead.
Is Christopher Walken in the room? What's going on? Oh my God, that was such a great Irish accent. I am your other host who will not be offending the entire nation of Ireland. I am John Parker.
And yes, of course, everyone, hello, welcome back to Bat Minutes hiatus period, and we're doing this movie now. We've also got guests joining us for this wild mountain time, because it is a wild mountain time, let me tell you. Is Liz Whitaker of Mean Girls Minute.
Hello. I don't know what that was.
was that an attempt at an Irish accent, or was
no,
that just
nope.
Oh, okay.
We can pretend it was.
That's why I had to explain it.
And and also Jarf Harden of Joe versus the Minute, the Joe versus the Volcano Movies by Minutes podcast.
Hello.
Was that Irish?
Wait, was that an impression of me?
Yes, that's my Liz Whitaker.
It's so good.
Oh, okay. From now on, we have to do the whole episode just speaking like Liz to freak her out.
But yeah, we're here today to talk about this relevant reasons. We're talking about, hey, Chris Walken's in it. We spent a whole season talking about Chris Walken.
Yeah, and we didn't want to do obvious hiatus stuff because there's so many like Jim Carrey movies we can do. It's too obvious if we just do The Mask and things.
Yeah,
so we're like, we need to think outside the box.
And also, the air date of this is St. Patrick's Day, everybody. So
Hey,
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
It's
have half a Guinness
my
like they do in this
birthday.
movie. It's your birthday.
Tomorrow.
Oh. So you're talking about March 18th.
Yes.
Not tomorrow as of the day of recording tomorrow.
Tomorrow as when it comes out. It is
oh, wow.
my mom likes to say that she refused to have me on St. Patrick's Day because she did not want to go through my entire life with people asking her why she refused to name me Patricia. I think I told this story on Jarf's podcast, actually.
Niall, is there an Irish equivalent? Is there a female equivalent of Patrick in Ireland? Is it Patricia?
Yeah, it would just be Patricia, yeah.
Would it be?
Yeah.
I thought you might have some weird, like the way Patrick is like actually like Pádraig,
But although the thing isn't talking about Jarf's podcast, also relevant reason that you're here, Jarf, is because John Patrick Shanley made Joe versus the Volcano. Not Sean Patrick Flannery, as I kept calling him to myself all week, and not John Slattery, as I kept getting him mixed up even further. John Patrick Shanley made Joe versus the Volcano, then made the incredibly acclaimed Moonstruck and Doubt, and then his career seems to have taken some sort of demented nosedive when he created very short-lived Broadway play Outside Mullingar, which then he insisted had to be adapted into Wild Mountain Time. This film featuring Chris Walken, the poor man's Henry Cavill, Jamie Dornan, and Emily Blunt, who I don't know why Emily Blunt's in this. Like, this is like, surely she must know better, but I don't know.
Look, I'm just going to get this out there to everybody, to the listeners, to everyone on the show. I quite liked it, so I'm glad she's in it. I thought this was fun. And it's the only movie I have seen of this guy. Sorry, Jarf.
I think you meant, I think this is the only Jamie Dornan thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I know him, but I can't think I've seen him in anything.
I just know him as the 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah,
but I didn't watch that. Who watched that?
I don't know anyone who
That was the
did.
crap version of Secretary.
That's always the weird thing with 50 Shades, because I know the people who directed it One of them is James Foley, the guy like, oh yeah, he directed Glengarry Glen Ross and also episodes of Hannibal and Twin Peaks. I was like, what the hell is he doing? He did 2 50 Shades movies. What the hell is this guy doing? But
Money.
I guess so. Unless you look at them, it's like maybe there's some bizarre artistic merit to the 50 Shades film, and we've all just dismissed it.
You're being too ambitious there. But this, I did like it. I imagine all of you hated it. I imagine the listeners, if they have gone and put it on, they probably hate it. But I liked it, and I thought to myself the whole time, this could be a play, right?
I actually had the same thought.
Not knowing anything about it, right? And then the credits come up, and it was like, based on the play. But I was like, ah!
But what up front, what did you two also think of this?
I thought that this movie explains a lot about the popular societal perception of Irish people.
What are you talking about? It's 100% factual.
That's what I mean.
So because John Patrick Shanley is such an Irish name, I was like, maybe he is an Irish guy. I was like, no, he's second generation American, I believe.
Oh,
but
I assumed he was from Ireland.
No, he's like a Bronx guy. He's like grew up in the Bronx. And it's like assuming he was enamored with the culture or something, but it's just like he got a big book of Irish cliches and was just like, yeah, I'm taking them all off, baby.
Yeah, and Jarf, what did you make of it then? I could imagine you're maybe more in the middle.
No, I'm not in the middle. I thought the scenery was pretty.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah. So if you're quarantined at home and you don't have access to the outdoors, this would be a fine movie to put on in the background just so you can see some nice green fields. But besides that, I just found it mostly inscrutable. And the times that something did bubble to the surface and penetrate my consciousness, it was just so ridiculously silly that it was like a slog to get through it.
I just love the fact, though, because I looked up the play it's based on, which apparently was the Broadway debut of Deborah Messing. So,
Really?
Yeah. Shockingly didn't come in for the film. I couldn't understand why. But it's just, if you look it up, though, like just Google Outside Mullingar, top entry is the Wikipedia, and then the second result is from the irishtimes.com, Outside Mullingar and Beyond the Edge of Awfulness. John Patrick Shanley's faux Irish Outside Mullingar, currently on Broadway, is mystifyingly awful. And the thing is, though, I think it is very bad. But the thing is, I laughed my ass off watching this thing.
Oh, it was hilarious. I genuinely liked it, right? But at the same time, it was just so funny. Like, it was so weird. What's going on in any of these scenes?
But it's like, it's so odd for like the first hour. And then, like, it has a weird twist of, like, once Christopher Walken's not in it anymore, it gets even weirder somehow than it already was.
Now, Walken... Actually, no, the first thing I'm going to say before we get to Walken, Jarf, I agree with you, right? It looks wonderful. I think the whole movie's beautifully shot. So even if you hate it, right, I think it looks great. It's like Lord of the Rings. But then you get into things like, Christopher Walken, who we love, is playing an old Irish farmer. And his voice is sometimes pretty good. And then it'll turn into Walken again in the same sentence.
You think, is it though? Like,
sometimes he'll say the odd word and you're like, that sounds Irish. Then the next word, you're like, that sounds like Walken.
That's straight off the bat. I just thought, like, no, that is Chris Walken putting on an atrocious Irish accent the entire way through. And it's like, his opening line is just like, oh, welcome to Ireland. I'm Tony Riley. I'm dead.
I'm dead. Now that is a start to a movie. I'm dead. It's like, oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah, so because he dies like this is like an hour 40 minutes. He dies about an hour in. Afterwards, at the end of it, I was kind of like, why was he the narrator?
It's baffling that well, and it's also the part that is baffling to me is that how he opens by saying they say that when an Irishman dies while in the middle of telling a story that he will return. What story was he telling when he died?
This story.
He died in bed alone. He kicked his son out of the room and said,
Yeah, he was like,
"You're gonna
I
crush
think
me
I'm going to
together."
try it without the oxygen. We just had a very sweet moment.
We hugged it out. Yeah.
We hugged it out, so it's okay for me to die now. There was no story.
But let me say, that bit where he does die, I know we're jumping ahead, who cares? When he does die, I actually was moved.
See, I was the exact opposite. And
Oh.
and I pin most of the blame on the casting because at this point in his career, I don't think you cast Christopher Walken as the sweet Irish farmer dad with a gruff exterior that you're supposed to love. He's just too odd and too Christopher Walken. So
He
Yes.
does come across as weird. Yeah. And the
I
whole
thought-
plot is like he won't give his son the farm because he thinks he's going to be a crap farmer.
He judges his son for being weird, and while he is the epitome of weird.
right.
That is odd, isn't it? Yeah. But like at the same time, I'm kind of torn because I'm like, okay, well, from what I've seen of this guy, he would be a crap farmer. Like he's very
Yeah.
straight. He's like me. I'd be a bad farmer, and he has all of my attributes. So don't
That's
give
it.
him the farm.
I got the vibe too that like one of the reasons he wasn't giving him the farm was because he wasn't married.
He keeps
Yes.
going on about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the other most baffling things about this was that if you had told me for long stretches of it, it was set in like the 1930s, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I get that. But then cut to John Hamm reading Irish Farmer on a Kindle. It's like, oh no, it's very modern. It's set like this year. But for some reason, John Patrick Shanley seems to be under the impression that Ireland hasn't left, the 19th century. Like it's
But
Everyone
there's-
knows Ireland is just farms and grass.
And still very worried about the family name, which
Yes.
is why John Hamm's character even gets to be involved, is because Anthony is too much of a Kelly, which apparently, well, when that accusation was first flung about, my question was, well, you obviously were okay enough with the Kellys to marry one of them,
He does bring that up though,
which
doesn't he, at
comes
one
up
point?
later.
Where he's basically like, yeah, I didn't love your mother. And it's like, wait, what?
It's like the rest of the story is eventually like I just sort of waited around until I didn't mind her.
Yeah, no, my father also told me that I couldn't have the farm unless I produced an heir. So I didn't want my brother to get it. So I just went down to the old town square, and I don't know why your mom married me, but she was the only one there that day. So that's how it worked out.
I kind of get
It's
it.
a
though.
beautiful
Like, he's old-
story.
I kind of get it. He's old-fashioned. He wants his son to be able to pass the farm on to the family, and I think he thinks his son is such an idiot. He won't marry. He won't have a child. The farm will die with him if he doesn't give it to someone else. I get it. It makes sense.
But here's one thing. So, I don't think we can go through this movie like in a chronological order. I think
No,
we're
let's
gonna
just
have
jump
to-
around.
And the elephant in the room of this thing is because again, the first hour was like, oh, this is like a so-so sort of kind of rom-comish kind of thing,
Yeah.
and then Walken dies, and then it sort of steers into being like the sort of Dadaist one-act play for a while, where it's just like Emily Blunt and Jamie Dornan in a house together, going through all the friggin' cliches. It's like, I have a Guinness in the fridge. It's like, of course, yeah, in Ireland, she has to offer him a Guinness. 'Cause
Hey,
that's all
well,
they drink over there.
Can I just say as well, right? The bottle of Guinness. No. A bottle is worse than the can when it comes to Guinness. Now, the bottle it's not accurate. It's like a new version they made. The can is closer to the proper thing.
Well, they do specify that it's not as good as the pub.
No, but the
and-
can would be close.
But
The
things like-
bottle's not the same. It's a different drink.
It tastes of glass.
It tastes like
Oh,
glass.
God Almighty! Some of the early dialogue is just like, bottle tastes like glass, and glass tastes like teeth. And I think that it's linked back to her traumatic memory of drinking, like her husband dying, and then she takes a glug from a glass of water, and his dentures were in it, and that's why they taste like teeth. But then the opening scene is them coming back from the husband's funeral. So then it's like she's only now just discovered that glass tastes like teeth.
Well, once someone puts it in your head, you know.
But it seems as if that was like a lifelong thing. You think if that happened to you once when you're like 70 odd years old, as she looks to be, having the trauma of like, oh yeah, glass tastes like teeth would be like a lifelong instilled in you thing. To I don't know. It was weird.
Irish
it was
people
weird.
are wacky. That's what Irish people are wacky.
I thought they
this podcast
also
is proof of that.
acted like Guinness in bottle form was a new thing. She takes it out of the fridge and she's like, oh yes, they've got it in bottles now. It's not as good as the pub, but and I have a pretty good sense that it's been available in bottles for many, many decades.
Yes,
It's been around for quite a while. Again, it's not proper though, but the bottle, it's not new. But as you said, Niall, this is clearly a new, like it's set recently. There's a Kindle.
Yeah. And it's one of those bizarre things in that, like, because I know people, obviously being Irish myself, I do know people from, like, not people who own farms, but people who live out in the country. And, like, they have, like, the internet and stuff. They don't, everything about this seems like, oh, these people are just trapped in this small town and they can never get away and stuff. And it's like, why haven't they planned to move on somewhere else? Like, why are they so fixated? Like, we have to stay in this small town.
Well,
like,
yeah, obviously, Anthony has 2 older sisters.
Yeah.
They've left. It's
think
just
that's
these 2 weirdos.
That's the thing. It's they're weird. They feel obligated because I mean, here's me saying I like the movie. I don't remember the character's name. The woman, she leaves for America for a bit.
Oh god.
She just decides to go to
Rosemary,
New York for a day.
That was great. Initially, I was thinking like maybe John Patrick Shanley. Maybe he visits Ireland loads, and then his understanding of how you would get to New York and back is like this man. He's never been on a plane. I don't think because
It would take so long.
Well, he seems to understand it for I don't remember John Hamm's character's name.
just John Hamm.
John Hamm.
Yeah, John Hamm. His flight seems to take long enough for that nice Irish lady next to him to fall for him or whatever.
Oh, completely fall for him. They're getting married next week.
Yeah, they are. They actually went back inside the airport to try and find justice of the peace or whatever you call it in Ireland, someone that could marry them right then.
Well, everyone knows in Irish airports you can get married. So.
I mean,
well, I think the captain of the plane can do it. I believe.
I would
Captains
believe
of ships
that.
can. That's because she goes over. It's like it would take you over a day to get to New York.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, you'd be jet lagged as all hell. You wouldn't just be like, take me to see Swan Lake. And as if it's like, it's literally like she got a bus down the road. And they're like, oh, I'm going to see a play. It's like, international travel does not work like this.
And from where they live, is it not going to take probably like a half day to even get to the airport in Dublin to get on an international flight to New York?
Well, the movie seemed to imply to me that she transformed into a swan for the first leg of the journey because she walks out. Swan Lake is swelling.
Oh,
and
you're
she
right.
Says,
Today's the day.
Today's the day. And then suddenly the camera is flying through the air and then it cuts to an airplane. So, I mean,
that's an excellent point.
If he can be a bumblebee, then she can be a swan.
Man.
Oh, we'll get to that in a minute. Before we move on from this bit, tying into the whole air travel thing, the whole movie, as much as I liked it, I found time to be strange. Like, you'd go from one scene to the next with no indication that apparently like 6 months had passed or something.
There was one time I noticed that they were really focusing on the leaves on the tree and that they were orange. And so I was like, is this trying to convey to me that the seasons have changed because they were just picking mushrooms, which at least in America is like a spring thing. And now the leaves on the trees are orange. Am I supposed to intuit that there has been some significant passage of time?
I think so. Yeah, that seemed to be every time it jumped. You were just supposed to kind of figure it out. Even when Christopher Walken died, like we knew from the scene, oh, he's going to pass away now. Like, it was obvious, wasn't it? But there was never, like, any follow-up to it, or, like, funeral, really, or anything like that.
You do kind of get, like, a little vibe as well. It's like all these... Because, like, 3 people die throughout the course of this film. And it feels as if it happens over, like, a weekend or something. It's like, opening scene, her dad's dead. Then her mum dies, like, half hour later. And then, like, 10 minutes after that, Chris Walken's also dead. It's like...
There's some intercontinental travel.
And you just don't understand time. It's strange. It really does feel like a weekend. I don't get it. How long do you think this is? It's got to be like a year.
A year.
What you were saying, Jarf, about, like, you know, blaming the casting. It is weird because, like, Emily Blunt's obviously a very good actress, and she does kind of do what she can to sell this material. But I think it is down to, like, her and Jamie Dornan seem almost too normal kind of people to be in.
Oh, he's weird.
They also have zero chemistry, like, or negative chemistry.
Are any of these people even Irish?
No.
Any one of them, except for maybe the actress that plays Aoife?
I think that's the main problem.
And is that why she's the only character with an actual, like, Irish-sounding Irish name, and she's married to someone named Chris, and there's 2 Anthonys and a Rosemary and a Mary and a... We only get 1 Aoife? No,
the weirdest one is that Jamie Dornan is Northern Irish. He's from up north. But then his accent sounds like he's an American guy attempting to do an Irish accent. And it's like, but you're just down the road. Like, why? How can you not do this voice? Like,
so should he sound like a dairy girl? Or is that where...
I think in real life, he would sound like a more like the Dairy Girls. He'd have that broad Northern Ireland kind of accent.
Yeah,
And,
listeners, Niall isn't the stereotypical Northern Irish accent, let me just say. You have a very specific accent.
The long-term listeners to Batman will know that I am putting on this voice. This isn't actually what I sound like.
Well, you say that, but you sound like this. You get a bit more Irish when you're drunk, that's about it. But
So
you
the
have
shillelaghs come out, and oh my god.
Even to Irish people, you have a very specific accent.
I think that in Ireland though, there is a lot of accents within small islands. Like the Northern Irish accent, the Dairy Girls accent is very, very different from the Southern accent. And then like my dad has a friend who lives out in Letterkenny, and he sounds like he's like from Sweden or something. Like he's a real like, oh yes, a fool and his money are soon parted now. And he's just like, what is this voice? What are you doing?
What is that quote you chose to use for him? Has he told you that?
I remember him specifically because he makes guitars for a living, and then at one point, I just remember that my dad was talking about my dad's a guitar player, and he was talking about this guitar he bought. And I remember his friend Fitz been like, "Oh, a fool and his money are soon parted." And I was like, he said it under his breath to me, and I was just like, "What the? You're dissing my dad to my face as well. What are you doing?"
That is a famous phrase, though, at least here. I know that one.
But although I'm talking about Irish cliches, I did also feel like I was going to get up in arms about one of them, and then I kind of I had to check myself, because every time anyone's ever eating in this, it's always stew.
Yeah, there's like 20 stews.
Yeah, they come in, it's like, I made some stew. Do you want a stew? I'll have a boil of stew. And I was like, oh, what a cliche. And then I remembered earlier this week I was boasting about the stew I made.
You most certainly were boasting about your stew.
So, all right, you got me there, Wild Mountain Time.
You know, that works as well, you know, because we both live in Liverpool, another place famous for stew.
That is right, yeah. The thing is, then if you get into, like, what is the difference between scouse, the Liverpudlian stew, and Irish stew, they're pretty much the same thing.
They're exactly the same bloody thing, because everyone here is Irish.
Yes, and so I would say, like, as an American, to me, stew just meant, like, farm life and not, like, Irish. If they were really trying to caricaturize Irish cuisine for Americans, it would have been like shepherd's pie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, that's very, very... I'd consider that very English.
Oh, I would have thought shepherd's pie is English myself.
It's interesting to see how other people see it.
We're very smart here all the time, or very culturally aware. So shepherd's pie is Irish.
Hey, we have the same stereotypes about America, you know.
They're probably all true.
We assume things that I'm sure aren't true.
Everyone's sitting around is eating cheeseburgers all day, and shooting fireworks off.
Yep.
That's all the Americans do.
And firing guns into the air constantly.
Of course. If you're not shooting a firework off, you're firing another form of thing into the air.
Well, that's
You're not wrong.
Whilst paying for healthcare.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That is, good luck with that. but oh yeah, so should we? Because one of the massive thing in this movie, you can't dodge around much longer. I think is the twist ending.
Oh yeah. Now throughout the whole movie, I kept hearing what I thought was a fly, but there's a big twist that reveals to me it's actually a bee.
I was imagining though you thinking you heard a fly in your house and it kept pausing the movie and we're going around with like a
What the
swat.
hell's that?
I mean, so he did. I mean, I know there was the one scene towards the beginning where he comes in and there's a bee on the table and he, very cautiously puts a glass over it and takes it back outside and then leaves the door open. And I was just like, well, the bee's going to come right back in. Have you ever used a door before? Were you born in a barn?
He was.
And he might have been. And you get the really echoey buzzing of the bee in the glass, and then you get the fly away buzzing. And then I didn't notice it carried through the rest of the movie.
I kept hearing the goddamn thing repeatedly, and I was like, what the hell is this all about?
Did you maybe have a fly in your home?
No.
Yeah.
No, it is still absolutely freezing in England. I think all the flies are dead.
Although, at the beginning of the movie, too, you do get the flashback to them as young children. And there is the first time you see young Jamie Dornan, he is running around the garden and then sniffing flowers as if he were a bee.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we haven't actually said what the twist is to people, but that might be a big hint.
Yeah, well, the revelation is that the reason he's not interested in Emily Blunt, and that's kind of her cross to bear, the whole movie, is like, why isn't this man interested in me? I'm the only other woman in this
he's
area.
ever met.
And she's really into him. In fact, he says loads of nonsense, and she goes, when he says dem tings, I know I must have.
Yeah, I didn't buy that she was into him even at all.
Yeah. That's also, too, you are very aware that it's like, what's Emily Blunt, man? She's stunningly
Does she have a
beautiful.
mirror? Has she seen what she looks like?
Although, having said that, I think the woman that he meets when he goes to another town, like he goes to the pub, I think she's gorgeous. This weird old girl.
But she's also got the thing of she really lands you back oh, this is set in modern day because she's got a trendy kind of modern haircut.
Yeah.
And oh, right, so this isn't The Quiet Man or something. This is supposed to be now. And why Emily Blunt is attracted to Jamie Dornan is beyond me.
Hey, we can't help who we fancy.
I guess so.
Yes.
I guess so. But the revelation then, of course, at the end, he reveals the reason he can't be with her is because he believes that he is a honeybee.
And this is not a joke, which at first I was like, oh, it's going to be like a gag. No.
Yeah. And if you want any explanation as to why he believes that, how this started in his life, how it's continued, did Chris Walken know that his son thinks he's a honeybee?
Well, obviously he did
Dunno.
because at the beginning of the movie, he's like, this is where the home where my son asked his stories. Asked his stories? Asked his questions.
Yeah.
And we cut to baby Jamie Dornan in the window saying, Mother Nature, why have you made me in this form?
That's a good point. Oh my
And I
god.
was like, wait, what now?
Oh,
But
my
that
Lord.
makes Chris Walken seem like the worst dad in the world because he's just like, my son believes he's a honeybee. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. And he was like, my son asks his questions of God. And then we hear baby JD say Mother Nature. And I was like, oh, well, but God is Mother Nature? Okay.
Well,
Is this
that's
where we're
That's
going?
kind of cool.
no matter your opinion on these things, listeners. God and Mother Nature should be one. I think.
But now I'm curious as though whether his parents did know because it feels like you only
No.
find this out after Walken's dead. And it's almost a bit that would bring him back as a ghost. It's like he heard from the afterlife that his son thinks he's a beast. What? Comes clawing his way back through the pearly gates. It's like, I've got to tell someone about this.
He doesn't know. It's his secret shame. And I think it's like, it's why he comes across so weird. Because he does come across like he's got some kind, I don't want to be mean, because I have issues, some kind of mental problem. You know, like he's not quite right. That boy ain't right.
He's obviously seen a therapist or done a lot of self-reflection and read a lot online, because he does identify pretty accurately what anxiety feels like.
Yes.
He couldn't have read it online because they don't have the internet in Ireland.
Oh, right. Yes, he doesn't know the internet.
You never heard of it.
Yeah.
The inter what?
I have a question. Why does he wear that coat?
The raincoat that John Hamm gives him. It's so
Why
ugly.
does he wear it? It is not flattering on his body. It is not appropriate for his setting. Why does he change into it at his father's birthday party?
Well, okay. That's true, right? It's not appropriate for what he's doing.
He
and that's kind of the
save
point,
it
though.
for... He's already got a wear around the farm jacket. And if he's going to take Adam to feed the cows, why does he change into this fancy jacket?
Well, he's been bought it as a gift, hasn't he? And, you know, John Hamm doesn't... Because he's such an American rich guy, he doesn't understand that it's not appropriate. But then I get the anxiety, right? He's been bought it as a gift. He feels like he has to wear it.
I think we should maybe just give him some slack.
I don't like, but I wear it every day.
I think we got to give him some slack because he's just a honeybee trying to understand human culture.
Exactly. He's a honeybee.
Okay.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't understand how to dress after 30 some odd years inhabiting this human body. He hasn't picked up on anything.
I like the coat though. I thought he looked a bit like Chris Isaac in Fire Walk with Me.
Honestly, well, you might recall too, John. I think I had pretty much that same coat for a while back in the day.
I don't hate the coat. I don't think it fits him well, which is probably appropriate if bought by a cousin from another country who has never met you in person before.
You know, I'm thinking is somebody bought John Hamm that coat.
Oh, he re-gifted it.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, get rid of this thing. They're like, oh yeah, bought you a present. There you go.
Clever. I like it.
Okay,
I have to say, though, Jamie Dornan's gift acceptance etiquette, pretty bad. Because he's just like, what am I looking at here? And he seems to be kind of abhorred by the coat initially.
What the hell? Why would I want a coat this color?
He opens it up. I still don't know what... I'm looking at it. I don't know what it is. Well, take it out of the box, you ding-a-ling.
Irish people have never seen coats, you see.
They don't come in boxes.
No.
So the Irish people only know fleeces. That's all we wear over there.
Boiled wool sweaters and...
But it's so the biggest disappointment of the film for me is knowing that this is Jamie Dornan of 50 Shades of Grey fame, and they didn't do the honeybee reveal of him going like, my tastes are very particular. And Emily Blunt been like, show me, and he brings her to a room that's like painted yellow and black.
Yeah,
and he's just got stingers everywhere,
and it's a crossover with B-movie.
Oh, there we go.
Hell yeah, that's really why we chose this, because we did B-movie last year. So, you know.
We should have done for the April Fools this year.
But
should have
you
been
didn't
this.
know that this would be the B movie part 2 until
This is
third
B
act.
movie begins.
Oh yes, it's the B movie cinematic universe. You know, a bit like the way they just decided a bunch of movies were now part of Cloverfield.
Yeah. This Jerry Seinfeld now coming out and digitally inserting himself into this film.
Jerry Seinfeld instead of Jamie Dornan. Is that what we're suggesting?
Could only again. I think that's the casting of these two incredibly beautiful actors does kind of is to the film's detriment. I think because they are a bit like, you know, with Joe versus the Volcano, because that's a fairy tale movie, and it's got, you know, kind of, you know, the quirky looking Tom Hanks and stuff, and it has a fairy tale feel throughout. This seems like it's a straight drama that's occasionally comedy. It's got two kind of people who could be models as your lead roles. And then when it veers into strangeness, it's so like what the like it seems like it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And like you have lines where because she's a smoker throughout, and then she's like, I thought you couldn't be with me because I'm a smoker, and he's like, it is true. Bees hate smoke. And I was like, I was laughing at that for about 10 minutes.
That was my favorite. That might have been my favorite line of the movie.
I had to pause the film after that because I was laughing.
My favorite line, probably, other than "I'm dead," is which was in the first seconds, was when they've had the sort of meet up and they're doing all the food and stuff, and that guy comes up to, I think it's to John Hamm actually, and he goes, "Steer clear of the pudding. We think it's off."
Cleary?
I did love him, man, because it's like he's treated like the rascal around town, but he's about like 90 years old.
Yeah.
And it's the same way he's talking about Jamie Dornan. Is it that he's dating he's hooking up with a swan or something, or he's...
No, he proposes to the donkey. He's practicing asking Rosemary to marry him, and he is talking to a donkey, and then he is, having this two-way conversation in his head, well, out loud. And Cleary is peering over a wall, being a right creeper, and he's like, "Oh well, I guess it must be the knee then." And so he gets down on one knee and says, "Will you marry me?" And that's when that's all Cleary sees.
We get another one of my favorite lines in that as well, though, when he's practicing, as you say. He wants to rehearse, as we all do when we have anxiety, which he clearly does. But his line that he's going to go with to propose to her is, "You can probably do better than me, but you don't seem to be doing much. So will you have me?" So it's like, there's not a lot going on in your life, is there? I mean, come on.
But the aftermath of that scene, though, is like, because clearly he's treated like he's like the like a kid, like he's like the little rascally ragamuffin. Yeah, and he's just like, "Cleary," and he chases him down the road as if Jane Dorman is going to kick the shit out of this 70-year-old man.
Well, yeah, I think he would have. and the only comment that Rosemary's mother, is her name Mary? Yeah, or Sarah or something. I don't know.
God knows.
Oh yeah, Mary Riley. Because of course, most Irish names they could think of. Mary Riley.
No, they were the
Rosemary.
Muldoons. So Mary must have been Anthony's mother, and then I
every
think so.
time
Then Sarah, or
As Aoife.
Aoife. I'm sorry. Yes, the only Irish name. The only thing Aoife says when she sees them running across the path is, "Oh, I didn't know Cleary could run that fast." She would be totally fine with seeing him get kicked out of it.
Maybe they're used to it. Maybe it happens every week,
Well, apparently he is. Apparently he's going around with a slingshot, like firing it into people's.
That's my life goal now. When I am older, I want to be old man Dennis the Menace.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Did you recognize that actor, Jarf? Because you'd be familiar with that guy.
I did not.
He's the guy who sells Tom Hanks' luggage in Joe versus the Volcano. Barry McGovern.
Get out! That's amazing.
Well, turn in your podcasting license.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, I would have had to turn it in years ago because I am terrible at recognizing people. It either just sails completely over my head, or I am 100% sure that two people that are not the same person are the same person.
See, I always go, I know that person, and I can't figure it out. So I just ask Niall. He knows. I'm like, Niall, who the hell's this?
Someday I should make a chart of all of the actors that I think are the same people constantly.
Yeah. The ones who you could replace them with the other one. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we had that last season, though, was because people commonly mistake like Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer all the time.
What?
And then Kurt Russell and Jeff Bridges. It's like they don't look anything.
No,
alike.
I can see the Kurt Russell and Jeff Bridges
yeah.
thing. Yeah. I think they're kind of similar. They've got the same vibe. You could swap them out in roles and things. But not bloody Val Kilmer.
I think, again, that's the reason I call Jamie Dornan the poor man's Henry Cavill, is because he totally looks like a Henry Cavill knockoff.
Like
to me.
a slimmed down
Hmm.
Henry Cavill.
And you get the vibe in this, right? Like, even though they're portraying him as a weirdo and stuff, you can tell, this is like a handsome guy. They're
It's the
trying
way-
to make him come
yeah.
across as strange.
There's just something, and there's something about his hair that is that's a handsome person's hair.
Yeah.
That is an
Yeah.
attractive person's. Oh,
It's like Osmond's like, yes.
Yes. I concur.
Well, you said before, Liz, you mentioned the Muldoons. Every time any character says the name Muldoon, their accent slips. Not one of them can pronounce Muldoon properly. Especially Christopher Walken.
Oh, God. Well, Chris Walken can. Like, even is like, where's me pipe? Like, it's just-
That's exactly what you sound like when you're asking for your pipe now.
Oh, well, I do enjoy my pipe. I was actually kind of shocked to see the portrayal of Emily Blunt as a smoker, because I don't think we've seen like casual smokers as main characters was not portrayed as an overly negative thing.
Yeah.
And this is like people still do smoke in reality.
I
So,
don't know.
yeah,
You don't see it that much though. Like it's very compared to when we were like 20. The amount of smokers now is like a tenth, and if they're smoking, usually it's not tobacco.
Knowing John Patrick Shanley, I am going to bet that it was entirely to set up the dumb bee smoke joke at the end.
But that's a great bit.
Yeah, I think if that's all it was, bravo.
yeah, 100%. That's why it was there.
It is interesting though. You bring it up. Yeah, you're not really allowed smoking in a lot of things now, are you? And
I think you're not allowed to portray it in a positive light. So, in order to make that joke setup work, not only did he have to not like it because he's a bee, but he had to ask her to quit because on multiple occasions. And she, I think maybe her saying, "I quit because I wanted you to marry me," might have been enough to get it past the censors. Like it has to be
Yeah.
portrayed in a negative way.
I think that's right. Yeah, definitely. And I think this all started, personally, with Vin Diesel's Triple X. Because in Triple X...
That seems like it's a theory you've been sitting on for a while.
No, I've literally just thought of it now. In Triple X, one of the villains is a chain smoker. And Vin Diesel tells him at one point, you know, you should... I can't even do his voice. He's like, you should quit. It'll kill you. You should quit. It'll kill you. And it does end up killing him because it turns out he's a villain. Vin Diesel turns on him. He's fighting him. And he uses a heat-seeking missile, which kills the guy because it tracks the cigarette.
Now wait,
see?
are
It
we
did kill you.
saying that Vin Diesel is also a bumblebee?
Vin Diesel is a bumblebee. It makes perfect sense.
I think though, if they had cast Vin Diesel in the film, it would have led it to another realm of weirdness where everything might have gelled more. Because you're like, oh, this is already so odd that he's playing like. You seen that one picture of Vin Diesel with hair in that upcoming legal thing he's doing? That's so bizarre in itself. It's like, yeah, if you want to let people know that this thing is off kilter from the get-go, you hire someone like that. Like friggin' John Patrick Shanley made Moonstruck with Nick Cage and Cher. Had those two been the leads of this movie, I would have got it straight away. And then him and then at the end been like, yeah, I think I'm a honeybee. Would have been like, that makes total sense. I understand this film.
But imagine Vin Diesel's Irish accent. What the hell would that be?
Honestly, it might have been great. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I can't even fathom what it would sound like. Jesus.
I still have to say though, because I always keep track and have to do the comparison. Chris Walken's Irish accent still not as bad as Justin Theroux's in Charlie's Angels 2.
No, that's awful.
That is next level. Just like, how have you been? I call this like, if people haven't seen Charlie's Angels 2, just watch the Justin Theroux scenes to see his act. That is shocking that they got that past anybody.
I like the movie Michael Collins, right? But thingy. Why am I blanking on his name?
Liam Neeson.
No. The leader of the government.
Alexa, who was in Michael Collins?
The cast of the 1996 movie Michael Collins includes Liam Neeson as Michael Collins, Julia Roberts as Kitty Kiernan, Alan Rickman as Eamon.
Alan Rickman!
Yeah.
Alan Rickman's Irish accent in Michael Collins is just unbelievably baffling. It's just Alan Rickman occasionally doing a strange twang where you're like, he's Irish?
The shame he wasn't still around. Him and Walkman could have teamed up.
Him and Walkman.
To do like Chris Walkman. Oh, that's a meme in itself right there. Someone has to have made
Christopher
that.
Surely.
Walkman. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of music, there's a lot of music in this film, actually. Like, there's a lot of singing at the pub, which I actually, again, I found very nice and very moving.
I think is that I was it's kind of a mixture of two things in that I look at that and it's like, well, this is again because it's all diddly-dee Irish music, and I've been to many Irish pubs and it's like they don't all play that, but at the same time, by that other metric, you do get it played in places to the point where I hate that type of music now because I just heard it so much.
Yeah, and also, I know it's not the same type, but it's inspired by that. I have been to parties where you and former guest of the show, Gary Gavigan, have played the Pogues.
Oh, yeah. Every St. Patrick's Day, you have to get on the Irish classics, Samantha Mumba, all those.
And, of course, Come Out You Black and Tans.
All the rebel songs. I think that's basically what St. Patrick's Day is to us now living in Liverpool. It's like it's an excuse to sing rebel songs to just go out and tell the English how much you hate them all the time.
Hey, I'm with you, and I am English. Well, technically, I'm more Scottish than English, despite the accent. So.
I should clarify, I do not hate English people, but it would be a bit weird me coming over to live in England and then be like, I hate every goddamn person who lives here.
You can hate the English institution.
Yes, the imperialism and colonialism of the English.
Exactly, like America did.
I think as of recording this week, it seems people now are like, oh, maybe this royal family isn't so great. Like, oh, you think? Jeez.
Been saying it all my life, god damn it.
But what else have we got to cover in this thing?
It's a tough one, isn't it, to know where to go. So
I have another question.
Oh yeah.
What's with the horse? What's the horse's deal?
It does like
What's
a little.
the deal with the horse?
There's a bit where it, like, for comedic effect, sort of pops its head out of the stable, like, huh?
What? Like Mr. Ed. Yeah, we have a Mr. Ed moment.
I thought that was good because like a big storm's coming and it keeps cutting to the door of the stable, banging, and then just the top bit opens and the horse pokes its head out and the camera zooms in like it's about to go down. Now the horse is out, never comes up again.
And it just made me think, actually, when you said Mr. Ed, like, most listeners might not know this. There was an English comedy show in the 90s called the Fast Show, and on the Fast Show, one of my favorite sketches was Mr. Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What was the song? It was like, he looks like a corpse, he smells like a corpse, he's dead, of course, Mr. Dead.
Yeah. I think that was Harry Enfield had Mr. Dead.
Oh, was it Harry Enfield? Yeah.
Yeah, because he was the farmer, Harry Enfield, and then Paul Whitehouse was Mr. Dead.
That was it, because he's basically, it's Mr. Ed, but instead of a horse, it's a dead body. That's the entire joke. It's a corpse in a coffin.
But it'll be like, old sitcom tropes of like, oh, Mr. Dead, I'm really worried about this date I've got. And like, don't worry, I'll have an earpiece and I'll tell you what to say to her. And it'll be like Harry Enfield on a date with this woman and the propped up coffin like, in the background with him telling him what to say and stuff. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good sketch.
Mr. Dead is amazing. I always mix those two shows up because the two casts kind of intermingled a lot on other things, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, in fact, Harry Enfield and Paul Whitehouse did do a show together.
I think they just had a show called Harry and Paul eventually, didn't they? But other things, because I just wrote down some lines of dialogue, and talking about like, oh, this seems like a play, because it obviously was a play, but it feels like someone attempting to write poetically for the theater kind of thing. Some of the dialogue I thought was just god awful. One point, Jamie Dornan and Emily Blunt, they're like, where do we go when we die? The sky? The ground? Then what's the sky for?
The sky is for now.
The sky is for now.
I liked it.
I think that's when I was like, this seems like a play.
I thought that was nice.
I mean,
I don't understand what it means. It's what-
I liked her line to him where she's like, well, she's talking about him, and she's like, "I'm the one that should smell good. A man should stink like you."
The thing is, though, because the whole thing with the bee is realized in like the last 10 minutes of the movie, really. And once you open that door, it's like, I need a study of both these characters because they both seem like very damaged people.
Oh, she seems to genuinely think she's a swan as well. Like, that's not a joke.
Yeah.
Like,
at one point when he's trying to like, I think I'm a bee, you have to stay away from me. And she's just like, oh, Anthony, you are good for me. It's like, lady, you are nuts. Okay. This guy's basically telling you that he's insane. And it's like, you're just like, oh, I'm hot for that.
Oh.
This is like freaking Dr. Chase Meridian all over again now. I'm like, oh, Christ, yeah. Guy dressed up as a bee, I'm into this.
women love those damaged honeybees. I'm telling you, and it's a furry, essentially, because bees are fluffy.
they are.
Maybe not
guess so.
honeybees, but yeah.
No, honeybees are giant floofs.
Are they fluffy? See,
they're-
I don't know my
they're
bees very well. I'm
fuzzy,
terrified of them.
fuzzy friendos.
I go running from every bee I see. But I'm an animal rights person, so I don't kill it. So I'm like terrified, frozen, but I'm like, I can't do anything.
I think I'm always very calm around. I know people who would jump out a window if they saw a bee.
I would, yeah.
I'm always just very like, yeah, it's just if you don't bother it won't bother you.
No,
Yeah,
but
they're
the
very
thing is-
non-aggressive.
Yeah, technically, right? People go, oh, they only sting you if they feel threatened. But it's like, you're a giant. They feel threatened if you just walk towards them. They're like, what the hell is this? I'm going to sting the crap out of it.
But when you're a bee, everything is giant, so you have
Exactly,
to get
everything's
used
scary,
to
though.
it. You got to figure out. You got to navigate through the world with all this giant stuff.
I'm someone who got stung by Cypriot hornets, so I'm
Oh
terrified
well,
of
those
all of
are
these
like not the same as bees.
No, they're like daggers in your arm.
They should die in a fire. Yes, no, you should flamethrow at those.
And then when I lived in Pakistan, the wasps there are like it's like a flying wolf.
Thank
They're
you.
coming towards you.
Ooh, that's
Whoa.
making my skin crawl. I don't like that. Ooh.
And you hear them banging on the window, go doof, doof, doof. You're like,
A lot of
oh.
people actually know that John's childhood was the basis for Macaulay Culkin's character in the film My Girl.
Yes, exactly. It was.
yeah.
It was. Amusingly, my sister's favorite movie when we were growing up was My Girl, and I used to laugh at that scene every time, and it would make her cry.
Oh, then you got yours.
There seemed to be something in the early 90s, though, about, like, people getting stung to death. Because that, and freaking Candyman, his whole backstory is stung to death. Something was around the same time. I don't know if it was something in the cultural ether. Where, like,
Oh, there were killer bees that were supposed to be making their way, like I believe, up from like,
Oh yeah, that
Central
was a big
America.
thing in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
See, when
just
I
imagine Jarf's just like, I lived through the bee crisis of the 1990s. Let me tell you, I remember every second of it.
I don't know if
It
it's
was
the same.
terrifying.
I don't know if it's the same in America, but here in like the early 90s, the big thing was acid rain.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were
Everybody
all
was worried about
terrified.
acid rain.
Yep.
It made it sound like, as a kid, I thought, oh, at any moment I could just be pelted with acid and burned to bones.
Yeah, I will. If I go outside when it's raining and stick my tongue out, I will not have a tongue anymore.
Yeah. We didn't so much get the bees, I guess, in England. Because our bees are kind of small. They're not really, we don't have bad animals. I think the worst we get is like a slightly angry badger.
Well, see, you're an island nation, and so you're less worried about. Maybe not. Maybe not great with immigrants, but it's like it's a little bit more challenging to get there. The killer bees was just coded language for immigrants. I have.
Oh, but
decided.
at the moment,
Refugees.
we've got a big problem with. I don't know. We have such a weird history with this kind of thing. English people are very racist.
I'm pretty sure that's where we got ours from.
Probably. I imagine we exported it to you. Well, you all come from us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in our lineage.
It's awful.
America's just like, I learned it from you.
Like at the moment, you've got half the population hating Europe and wanting to disassociate from them, even though most of the arguments are false. So, there are legitimate reasons you might want to separate from Europe, but not any of the things these people are coming out with.
I thought that, just to hop back quickly here to
To a European nation, Ireland.
Wild Mountain Thyme. Just some of the thing is, it's not good dialogue, but it is striking. Because I was like, I have to write all this down. Like, some of these interactions, particularly at the end, between the two of them, when they're kind of leading up to the bee revelation. There's a bit where, a man with feelings should be put down. Can I make you a sandwich? No, I will. And then Emily Blunt makes the man a sandwich, which is like, I don't know, this doesn't track well in the modern times now. And then as soon as, like, that's done, she's like, can I make you another sandwich? It's like, what the
Wait, no, I have a question about that. Right. I think this is a Celtic thing because my parents, and especially my grandparents are they're from Scotland. You know, my parents grew up in England, but their parents are Scottish. So both of them, like my grandparents, my parents, no matter what, you're constantly offered food. And I wanted to know if this was the same in Ireland. Like when I last visited my mum, like a year and a half ago, walked in the door, she went, can I make you a sandwich? I'm like, no, I've eaten on the train. She was like, oh, I'll just make you a little something. And she came back with like a giant platter of about 50 sandwiches. I'm like, what are you doing to me?
No, I think it might just be my family doesn't do it, but you get offered like tea and stuff like that. And of course, a Guinness if you're coming in and be like, oh, let me see if I got a Guinness in the fridge for you. But no, never. But I actually go out to the effort to make food.
Oh
for
no,
you.
this would always. My grandparents were the worst. Like my nan would be like, "Yeah, do you want food?" I'd be like, "No, I've had my breakfast already. It's only 11." She'd be like, "Oh, I'll just do a little something." She'd come back with a full fry up, like a full breakfast.
So my problem with this is it was just the clumsiest, most awkward attempted seduction / confession of love that I've ever seen. And if I could give it a punch-up suggestion, I would say, let's lean all the way in to the dumb bee thing and say that Emily Blunt has known all their lives that he considers himself a honeybee. So have her do like a honeybee themed seduction where she's like, look, welcome home. I filled the house with fresh flowers and look at this delicious honey treat I have for you.
I've rolled around in colored powder, so I look like the...
But I do think it could genuinely, to all parties, humans and bees alike, be quite erotic, because you could pour the honey all over your naked body.
That'd be a great thing to put in the poster. Like, it'd be erotic for humans and bees alike.
Well, you get that, that old-fashioned thing where it's like the stick for doing the honey. You could get it on that, and you could drizzle it all down your naked flesh.
What they tip? Because her whole thing then is like, weirdly throughout the film, it seems more like Emily Blunt is very odd herself, and the whole swan thing's more set up than anything else.
Yeah.
But is that supposed to be like a birds and the bees joke?
Oh my God!
She's a bird,
is it?
and he's a bee.
God, it is. That's a hint that they're going to
I don't
have a
know. Wait,
child.
that's what they're going for.
Is this the modern creation myth?
It's Mother all over again. I can't believe that we didn't sort of think about that. It's so obvious. A bird and a bee. And I know she says, oh, I think I'm a swan. I don't think she literally thinks she's a swan. It's more like
she thinks of herself as the metaphor. She does think of herself as the metaphorical white swan.
Yes.
She identifies with the role in the ballet.
Yes, which makes a lot more sense. That you're like, oh, okay, I get that. Whereas this guy thinks he is a bee. That's not a metaphor.
Again, though, there's another line that made my ears prick up earlier in the movie where she's like, I'm just a girl. I have no purpose.
Ouch.
And yeah, and I was just like, this is clearly a pre-No Doubt era of Ireland here. Of course, actually, No Doubt has never landed in Ireland because we don't get anything modern over there.
Exactly.
We can take that, maybe identifying as the swan, then, has that given her purpose or something? Or are you not supposed to take it in that? I think it's very, very dicey dialogue in general anyway.
This movie is very much, it's out of time in a lot of ways, but it's like John Hamm has an iPad and, but also Emily Blunt lives in the future of instant air travel. She can teleport. But then there's also these like really antiquated, but behaviors. Men can't have feelings and girls have no purpose. And
Hey, sadly, men still think they can't have feelings.
oh, I suppose that's true. But I will say one nice thing about it is that Rosemary's father, Chris the Crow Killer,
Oh yeah.
sold his 10-year-old daughter a patch of land because a boy pushed her down on that patch of land, and this was her way that she could then banish him from it.
That is cool. That's power. I like that.
Which leads me to my third big question. Who else thought that when Papa Walken was telling his tale of not loving Antony's mother, and one day he's standing in the field and God slaps him in the face and is like, "You love her, dummy." And he tells the story of going next door to the Chris Muldoon and, selling the patch of land for 200 quid. And then he went out and bought her a new actual gold ring. And instead of that old brass one she had, who thought that the ring that Antony actually lost was the brass one, and that Christopher Walken was going to be like, "The gold one's over here." And he was going to be like, "Yeah, now I can take that one and I can go propose. You can die, Dad."
Oh, that would have been nice. Yeah.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Oh,
It didn't.
I thought worse. I thought when he was telling that story, he's like, "Well, I went, next door and I can't remember the character's name. I banged the neighbor." I thought that's what he was going to say. I thought he really loved her instead.
Should also mention though the whole thing with the crows. That is accurate. Ireland does have a very bad crow problem. I have a friend who lives out in Ballindrate, and every time I talk to him, he's giving out about the crows that are coming landing all over his land and stuff.
I'll admit though, I thought the big revelation, because I heard, there's a strange revelation. That's all I knew. I thought he was going to say, "I'm a crow." Because her dad hated the crow. I thought this was all going to be like a thing,
Like a Shakespeare thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what he was communing with when he's on the lake and he's talking to the sky.
Oh, yeah. Who was he communing with when he was on the lake?
Oh yeah, did that ever get resolved?
God, Mother Nature?
Yeah.
Because then he starts like
Bees?
swiping at the air with the oar as if he's swiping away a
Which
bee.
he then leaves in the lake, right?
It's not even...
It's
not
not
even
in
a
that
boat.
very strange boat that he drags back with him. Why wouldn't you leave the boat tied up at the edge of the lake?
Right.
Why do you need to take the boat back with you to the farm? What are you doing with it?
I hesitate to call it a boat either. It's
Well,
like
yes. What was
like
it?
a bucket.
With a
I thought it was
It was like
I thought it was a tire, like a modified tire.
no,
or something.
it was like rectangular. It was not like an aerodynamic boat. I guess not hydrodynamic boat. It was not made to cut through the waves, but it was like a tarp wrapped around a giant basket.
And that's, again, why I thought maybe he's a crow. It would all kind of tie together. But no.
Oh.
No.
Although, I was very disappointed. Again, they missed the opportunity because the character was called Muldoon. That he could have had a scene of her dad trying to sneak up on a crow, and another crow comes appears behind him, and he's just like, "Clever girl."
Yeah.
Just-
And the crow pecks
just
his
do it.
eyes out.
Wait, so if he feels like, why doesn't he turn this? Why doesn't he turn this farm into like a honey, like an apiary, and like
You know what? That would have been
sell
great.
organic honey and become very, very rich, because that is like a very, very popular thing right now. He could like do big things with this free range bee natural honey.
Yeah.
You can do so much with bee stuff.
Well, wouldn't that be a great twist, actually? Yeah, he is a crap farmer. Yes, his dad is right. So he finds his niche. He twists it. He's like, well, okay, we're going to pivot the farm. I can't do the farming my dad did, so I'll use the land for honey.
Yeah.
I love this.
And that would have made the
ending.
bee thing make sense.
I'll plant some wild mountain thyme, and then I can like. They've got enough land that they don't know how much of it they have.
Oh,
but
I
they
love
have
that,
enough.
genuinely, yeah.
No, that I don't mind. But they have enough that they could have like he could have a pasture of thyme, and then he could have a lavender pasture, and he could have specialized honey
Yeah.
It would have been a perfect opportunity for us to get Niall's favorite thing in a movie, which is saying the title of the movie in the movie.
Oh, they do though. They sing it. It's extra. They sing the title.
Oh, true.
It's in that song.
Yeah, none of them look directly into the camera, and they're like,
Oh.
"The Wild Mountain Time."
Yeah, is it the same word
yeah.
when they sing it, Niall? It didn't feel the same to me. I didn't even catch it.
No, it doesn't feel. It has to be like blatantly stated,
Yeah.
preferably in a sentence just by itself.
He should go to the bank and say, I want a loan to create Wild Mountain Time.
Right.
Honey.
TM.
Look, one twist I would have appreciated as well is that because at the end when they are singing Wild Mountain Time together, and it pans out and John Hamm's there with the other lady who's now his wife, I guess, or whatever.
The consolation plane lady.
And the blonde single braid lady from the bar night is behind them.
I really like that. It felt, again, like a play. Like, where they all come out and do a bow. It's their little send-off,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's like, aw.
But what I was thinking was like because Jamie Dornan's got this like he believes he's a honeybee thing, and Chris Walken at the beginning was like, "Oh, I'm dead," but we never see Walken go into the ground. It would have been a nice additional twist. It's like, "Oh no, Walken's alive the whole time. He just tells people that he's dead."
Yeah, he thinks he's dead. That's his thing.
Wait, no, but that would have made sense that he was still telling the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And he's like, "Oh, Jamie Dornan has to come in." And he's like, "He's not actually. He believes he's a ghost, but he's actually totally alive
Well,
the whole time."
there is that condition you can get where you think you are dead.
Oh.
There's a name
Oh, there
for
you
it.
go.
I can't remember, but you believe that you are basically a zombie.
Are the symptoms that you don't see any other people physically in real life for a year?
Oh.
It's like it's a new condition that the entire world apparently
Yep,
suffers from.
all of us have contracted it at once. It's crazy.
Except for John and me, who still have to go work outside in the real world.
Yeah.
We have to leave our homes.
Have to go on the train every day. Oh, Jesus
Oh.
Christ. It's how do you describe this then as a finale then? It's like a rom-com that's trying to be kind of
struggles with
sincere.
time.
Yeah,
Because-
it does.
Because you have them in the grassy field with, both of them in their coats, which I feel like is supposed to mean something. And then just the way that the shots are framed with, she's got her coat and he's got his coat. And I don't know, is that just supposed to tell us Ireland maybe? But then they're singing together. Well, first it's just him singing in the pub and then he makes her come join them. And then there's all the people. But then the movie ends with them back in the field in the coats. So did the pub actually happen?
It could be maybe that there's been a miscommunication and they've spelt the title time like the herb time, but it's actually the whole thing's around. It's like, oh, it's set on a mountain. It's like a weird time vortex. So Chris Walken is dead yet he lives,
Yes.
and it's simultaneously 1920 and also 2020 in the film at the same exact
Did
time.
you just do a Twin Peaks The Return reference?
Yeah,
I am dead, and yet I live.
That would have been.
I was going for somehow Christopher Walken returned.
Yeah.
That would be a thing.
Yeah.
Just Oscar Isaac's just sitting in the pub too, just shaking his head in disbelief.
Ian McDiarmid should have been in this movie.
As soon as John Hamm lands on the mountain, his Kindle turns into a first edition, like crusty old book.
A farmer's
Yes.
almanac.
Yes.
It's like a portal to another time, another world. It's basically the island of Dr. Moreau.
No, yeah. Or it's like a Doctor Who season finale or something.
Something strange. Yeah. Wibbly wobbly mountain time.
I did like it though. I thought it looked nice. I enjoyed the weirdness of the characters because to me, like human beings are weird. Most movie characters, I'm like, that's not a real person. These felt like real weirdos that I would like. Jamie
True
Dornan's
weirdos.
character, I'm like, oh, that could be me. Like,
I think I would have liked it more had again. I think it's the movie starness of the two leads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of it if this had starred like Ardell Hanlon
yeah.
and like one of the Dairy Girls, I would have been like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, the age difference there is massive.
Well,
so like no,
put some actual Irish people in it. You know?
Yeah. So what I was hoping for when I went into this, when Niall invited me, I was hoping for like the Decoy Bride Ireland edition, which is just this like campy, goofy, ridiculous, bonkers rom-com set in this tiny Scottish island. And it's got David Tennant and Kelly MacDonald, and it's truly delightful. And it leans into just being a ridiculous rom-com. It does not try to be more than it is. In fact, there's a storyline in the movie about an author trying to be more than they are and crumbling under the weight of expectations. And I think that is where this movie went. It tried to take itself more seriously than it should have.
Yeah, was the author in that movie actually John Patrick Shanley?
Oh,
It was David Tennant playing John Patrick Shanley. I believe that was his name. Yes.
Yes, he's like, I'm writing the ultimate story of Ireland about a young boy who believes himself to be a bee.
A bee.
I think it's the lateness in the day of the bee revelation. Because that feels like that should be like the beginning of like the second act.
If
or
it
something.
had come sooner, we could have had so much more joy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just also is like, why does he think he's a bee? Where does that come from? Why does he have an affiliation or
Why
an
not?
affinity for that?
I don't really that actually doesn't really bother me. If he believes he's a bee, that's fine with me. I want
Okay.
that to be a bigger part of the story. I don't want it to be a secret from me, the viewer, until the fourth quarter or the final act or the 11th hour, whatever
love
other
that,
metaphor.
though. And the way that like it's a big revelation, but at the same time she's not really bothered. She's like, oh, okay.
Right. I want to see
I like
him
that.
get to be a bee, though. I want her to be okay with it much sooner. I want to see him get to live a fulfilled life as a bee.
Well, do you think maybe her love stops him thinking he's a bee? Maybe
No.
he only thinks he's a bee because he's lonely.
No.
I don't know. I think I would prefer if they just accepted their weirdness together, and it was like, yeah, we move forward now. Her believing she's a swan, and him believing he's a bee. Again, it would be like the end of Secretary, where it's like, yeah, they just embrace the kinkiness of the whole thing. I was like, that's their lives.
Yeah.
Now. That is the
Well,
the true
I
love story of it.
genuinely, this isn't a joke. I consider Secretary to be the most like romantic movie. Because people don't think of it in that way, but it really is. It's about two people who need each other and find each other and are perfect for each other. And it's very sweet. Despite it being kinky, that's kind of besides the point, almost. So, yeah.
Should also mention,
yeah,
actually, in the interest of it's all connected, Emily Blunt was, of course, one of the people considered to replace Katie Holmes in The Dark Knight. And, of course, that role went to Maggie Gyllenhaal of Secretary fame. So there you go.
Yeah.
The only other
I
big,
love.
everything's connected, I would be remiss if we didn't bring up, is that they mentioned The Lion King, like the New York Broadway
Yeah.
version of The Lion King, several times. And that production was directed originally by Julie Taymor, who, of course, is the wife or the partner of Elliot Goldenthal, who did the music for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. So there you go. Everything is connected.
Batman and Robin coming very soon, people.
Yeah.
We may
Excited.
have started recording when you hear this.
Does anyone have any other things to delve into with Wild Mountain Time, or should we wrap this?
I
baby
am
up,
utterly
or-
speechless.
I feel like we could go on for months and months. Talking
Yeah, I
about
feel
this.
like there's more I could say, but I don't know if it's things I want to say.
I think this needs a movies by minute. Jarf?
No. Oh, God.
This is like twice now we've had upon it in the hiatus period, because that's still like, we still get messages. If anyone's keeping track, we still get messages from Dale Kingsmill with new points about The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
Yep.
Then this is like 3 months later. We could go back to that movie every year and have completely different conversations about it. I feel we could record another episode about this tomorrow, and it would be a completely different thing.
I could
'cause-
actually write an essay on this as like, I'm not even gonna say the thesis of it because then I will have to continue it on. But
It's like that's international law, Liz. As soon as you state the thesis, you're then
yeah, you have
obligated
to. You then must support your thesis.
Right.
Look out for the TED Talk.
So we will head off now up the mountain once more. So crack open a Guinness, dry yourself off with a hanky, and get back on the smokes. would our wonderful, lovely special guests like to tell people where they can be found online? Jarf, let's go with you first.
Sure. So my next podcast is Dazed and Confused 33 and a Third. I'm going to be covering Dazed and Confused one song at a time. And it's on Instagram at Dazed Confused 33.
Oh,
That's one of those really retro things of when I was, again, this does make Ireland sound this backwater place with no modern technology. But when I was a teenager, I used to have to hold my dad's tape recorder up to the TV during Dazed and Confused to get some of the songs because
Nice.
I couldn't. There was no local record shop that had the soundtrack to that in it. There was a local record shop that didn't have the Dazed and Confused soundtrack, and back then, no internet. You couldn't just order it online or anything. So yeah, fond memories of a very garbled version of Free Ride and stuff coming out of my dad's.
You've got to go
old
on that
tape
episode
cassette.
now.
Yes, I love that story.
Jarf, at me.
I have a free ride story too, but I haven't seen Dazed and Confused, obviously, of course. So I don't know where that goes.
You've never seen
Oh,
it.
I highly recommend it. It was a great,
No
great
one
movie.
who's ever heard me on anything is surprised to know that I have not seen that movie.
That's a good point. Why was I surprised at all?
It's my brand.
You've not seen anything. I think at this point you deliberately don't watch things.
I don't. I will not neither confirm nor deny that. But I did watch this movie.
Hey.
Which is hilarious that of the small list of movies you've seen, this is one.
I've also watched Catwoman because of you two fools.
Yeah. We're giving you all the primo material.
Yes.
That'd be like someone asking Liz the list of films she's seen, and she's like,
Catwoman?
Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, Mean Girls, Catwoman, Wild Mountain Time, The Decoy Bride.
We should have had you on for Cats. Oh my god.
no?
No, thank you. I think you made the correct choice in that guest casting.
Liz, would you like to tell people where you can be found online and anything you're working on, or plug anything you like? Who cares?
I can mostly be heard these days on guest spots on other people's podcasts. So to find where those are happening, following Mean Girls Minute on Twitter is the best way to do that, pretty much. Other than that, I'm really leaning into the weight part on the production of Wait a Dune Minute. My co-host George and I had a pretty we had a giant realization this week that we are both ideas people, and we both are very low at our skills are very low at executing. I'm not supposed to spill that tea because you're supposed to think we're working hard and banking episodes, and we've just not invited anyone on yet.
Have you done any episodes?
We've recorded a trailer episode twice.
Oh.
Okay, and neither one of them has been released.
Hey, at least you've done something. That's what we're.
I did order him a pair of Wait a Dune Minute socks for Christmas because I was his secret Santa in the gift exchange, and he never got them because he lost his driver's license, and so they are sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
Someone will find them in
Undelivered.
30 years. Like, what the hell is this?
It feels now like Way to Doom Minute is just cursed in some ways. Like, this is the show doomed to never begin.
It's like Don Quixote.
Yeah, so we've gone through multiple spurts of pre-production. It'll happen sometime
Hey.
when you least expect it.
When you've waited a June minute.
Yeah, when we feel like you've waited a ding-dang Dune minute enough.
And yes, listeners, I'm sure you know where to find us by now, but do come and speak to us on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, and look us up on Instagram and Twitter and all that nonsense. The most important thing is come to our Patreon. Go to Sleepy Charlie Media's Patreon, because you can get loads of wonderful, exciting bonus material, which we've been doing quite a lot of in the last few weeks / couple of months, and there's going to be even more coming soon. Now, obviously, we still give you loads of cool free stuff like this, so don't worry if you can't afford it. But if you want even more of us chatting crap, then it's there for you. And we will be back soon with more exciting, wonderful, brilliant, wild mountain times with us at Bat Minute.
Bzz, 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 bzz.